Welcome to Profit and Prosper, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to make some money while doing what they love. On this podcast, we're going to pull back the curtain and talk about all things business and money. But I promise you, this is not your typical boring numbers talk. I'm your host, Sarah Young, a CPA and CFO with over a decade of experience in finance, business, and leadership. I'm going to share everything I've learned from helping my clients grow more profitable businesses and keep more of what they earn while growing my own successful business along the way. You'll feel empowered and confident that you too can grow your wealth, live a rich life, and have an impact. Stick with me and you might even start to think that finance is fun. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first ever episode of the Profit and Prosper podcast. The fact that I'm saying those words is so exciting to me. I have been thinking about and planning and plotting about starting a podcast for at least a year and a half. And just the fact that I'm finally doing the thing is just sort of surreal to me. So I'm really, really excited that you are here listening to this first episode. I want to, with this podcast, provide a totally free resource for business owners like you to help you build businesses that are more profitable, sustainable, and successful on your terms. Since starting my business a little over 3 years ago, I have talked to a ton of business owners who say things like, I just don't understand my finances for my business. It's really hard. I'm not good at numbers. I'm not good at math. I don't think I'm ever going to figure this out. Or I have a really hard time getting good help in this area. People just are really... They don't communicate. They don't help me understand the bigger picture strategy things or even the day-to-day tactical stuff. They say things like, I hate my finances. I would rather go to the dentist. This is so boring. Even people who are ready to dive into their finances, right? It's just a really complicated topic. There's so much information out there. My goal with the Profit and Prosper podcast is to help you become more financially literate in your business and also confident knowing that you have got this under control. And so I want to make finances more approachable and more fun so that you can be more wealthy and be well in your life. This is my tagline because I truly, truly want this for everybody around me to be more wealthy. And I mean, both in terms of dollars and in terms of other things in your life that make you feel like you're living a rich life. And be well, meaning be healthy and happy and peaceful in your life, knowing that your finances and your business are under control and they're generating the money that you need. And you don't have to worry about this area of your life. Money absolutely is not everything. It is not the most important thing. It's not the only definition of success. But having a profitable business is a thing that is going to enable the other areas of your life. And having a business on the flip side that is not profitable, that does not generate cash flow, I have seen firsthand how much stress it adds to business owners' lives. And so I want you to flip the script and be able to create a business that works for you on your terms. So on this podcast, we are going to talk about tactical financial tips, things that you can implement in your business right now, things that will hopefully help you learn and just become more, like I said, financially literate. We're also going to spend time on mindset, money mindset, things that are holding you back from being successful in business. And these are things that, to be honest, mindset-wise, I am still learning about and working on in my own life. So we will be working on that a little bit together. These thoughts and beliefs that we all have about money tend to be very deeply ingrained and also sort of taboo to talk about. I think if we can break down some of these barriers around even talking about money with other people, I think we will all be so much better off. And we're also going to talk about strategy, financial strategy, profit strategy, how to think like a CFO, which is the topic of this first episode. I want to talk about how you, a business owner, as the CEO of your business, can think like a CFO, because any successful CEO knows how to think strategically about their finances like a CFO would. Even if they have a CFO or an accountant on staff, a CEO, a really successful, profitable business owner, knows how to assess their money. They know how it all works, even if they outsource the tasks. And so this is what I want to kick off by talking about, is how you can implement some of these things in your business to create your own financial strategy. So before we jump into how to think like a CFO, I want to talk about first what people typically do for their finances in their business. So a lot of you probably have hired a bookkeeper, which is great. A bookkeeper's job is going to be to take care of the transactions, right? They code all the transactions, organize your receipts and your documents. They run all of your reports. They might help you pay your vendors or do things like that. But their job is really to handle the day-to-day transactional level stuff. This is very different from thinking about financial strategy. And so when you have a bookkeeper, I've seen enough people to know that a lot of times they get frustrated because their bookkeeper may not help them with that next level strategy piece, helping them understand what their numbers are telling them and what they should do next financially. But I want to help people understand that doing the transactional level stuff and thinking about big picture strategy are two very different things. You might also have hired a tax accountant, CPA or not a CPA. This person in general is going to take the numbers that you give them and drop everything into your tax return. But I have heard the same thing over and over from so many people, that their tax accountants are not there for extra support and guidance. They are not as communicative and proactive as they would like them to be. And again, we've got to match up our expectations and the reality of what a tax accountant is going to do. Unless you hire your bookkeeper or your tax accountant to do this next level stuff, which oftentimes costs a lot more money, they're going to do the task that you have assigned them with, which is preparing your tax return. And I think what people don't often understand about businesses that do tax prep is a lot of times, the way that they make money is by doing as many tax returns as they can, which by default means that each individual customer is not going to get as much attention and help. This is something I have heard over and over and over again. And so what a lot of business owners end up feeling around their finances is frustrated by the lack of support they get. They're unsure how to figure out where their money is going, whether they can afford to buy certain things in their business, how to pay themselves, how to avoid having this huge tax bill come up at the end of the year, how to make smart investments both in their business and personally. The missing piece is thinking like a CFO and developing a financial strategy. Are you ready to change your money story this year and feel confident about your next moves to create more profit and cash flow in your business? You've probably already thought about your business goals for the upcoming year, but I don't want you to forget the financial side of things. How can you make sure that you are taking action on the areas where you'll see the most immediate, biggest impact on your bottom line? Because having a wealth-generating, profitable, and resilient business doesn't happen by accident. You need to take intentional steps toward creating more profit. That's why I created my totally free financial review workbook. In it, I will walk you through how to assess your business's financial picture with no math required, how to think big picture about what worked and what didn't with your finances in the last year, and how to identify your next 3 money moves to make in the upcoming year. To get your free workbook, visit the link in the show notes or go to trustyoungco.com/review and be on your way to a more profitable and aligned business. A financial strategy or a profit strategy is probably a lot simpler than you think it is. I think when I say things like a financial strategy, people are like, oh, this means spreadsheets and lots of numbers and math and stuff like that. It's not that, okay? You can create a profit strategy for your business alongside your business goals that you are already probably setting in your business. I know that everybody has business goals, and what just doesn't happen a lot of the time is we think through and connect the business goals to money and numbers in our business. So you having a profit strategy in your business, all that means is you have an intentional plan for how you are going to make money and build wealth. You will understand this is my plan for where my money is going to come from in my business, and this is how I'm going to maximize my profitability, meaning how much you keep out of the money that comes in. This is how you are going to invest your time and your money in your business to multiply, hopefully exponentially multiply your time and money that you get back from the investment that you put in. This is how a CFO and a successful CEO is going to think about their finances. They understand that the money side of the business is really closely tied in with just overall business strategy. So they're going to consider constantly what's working in their business, what doesn't work in their business. They're going to evaluate best case and worst case scenarios, understanding where their cash flow is going to come from, where does their cash get spent, what kind of investment returns they're going to get, and so on and so forth. Having a profitable business that generates positive cash flow that you then in turn use to build your own wealth as the business owner is not something that just happens on accident. Y'all, I have heard so many business owners who don't think about how they carry through their cash flow from their business into their personal life, which leads you to feeling more stressed out, right, about your personal finances. I have heard a lot of business owners who say things like, my business is my retirement. I have seen multiple $1-million business owners, high 7-figure business owners who have had businesses for years generating this much in revenue, and they still don't have personal assets and personal wealth. And this is really the point that I want to drive home, is that you having a rich life is going to happen only when you purposefully and intentionally create and execute a plan to do that in your business, right? So what I want to talk about in the rest of this episode is how to create a profit strategy and how to think like me, like a CFO. So honestly, y'all, creating this strategy is something that I could spend every episode of this podcast talking about. So in this episode, we're going to start off with just a big picture overview of how to think like a CFO. And then we will dive into all of these topics in the rest of the episodes on this podcast. So big picture, I want you to create your personal profit strategy by getting really clear on your vision, knowing your numbers, evaluating what's happening in your business, optimizing cash flow, stabilizing your business, and then growing your business and building wealth. All right. I know that was a lot. Now we're going to dive into each one of these and what each of these things looks like in your business. So the first step is getting clear on your vision and what it means to you to be successful. Everybody has a different definition of being successful, but I have just seen so many business owners who are not clear on what the end goal is, right? They start their business out of this desire to create financial freedom and time freedom in their life, but it's so easy for us as business owners to get caught up in the day-to-day stuff in our business that we forget sometimes to think about, why are we here? What are we doing? And a lot of people can't tell me, what is the end goal, right? Like, what does it mean for me to be successful? What does it mean for me to have a more rich life and be wealthy? And how would that feel? And what do I want to get out of my business? And the reason this is important is because it informs how you structure your business and what you do. So I have a client coming to mind right now who, when I started with them, they were in a phase of wanting to grow, just without really any end in sight, without having a solid plan for, why do you want to grow? What's the point of doing all of these new things in your business and adding product lines and locations and things like that? And it was just out of this desire to, I guess, be growing, right, at whatever cost. And I think that happens because a lot of the times out there on the online business land, social media world, success is defined by having the next big thing in your business, right? Look at this successful launch I had. Look at the revenue I brought in my business last year. Look at how many followers I have on social media. But these things don't actually translate into having a rich life unless you define very clearly what your vision is, why you're here, and what you want to get out of it. So the first step to creating your own profit strategy is to define the end goal. What does it look like for you to actually have financial freedom and time freedom? What would you do with all of this newfound freedom? And honestly, defining the end goal is so important because I think of it like going on a road trip where when you set out, you're in your car. If you don't know where you're driving, you're just going to meander along the path, right? Until someday you're like, I'm here. I don't feel like going anymore. This is going to work. And maybe that's fine if you're on a road trip and you just want to take the time and have some fun and not worry about where you're going. But when you think about your business, this is not what I want you to do. I want you to have a very clear end goal and know, how are you going to retire? How are you going to step back from your business without saying my business is my retirement? Because I don't know what that means, right? I don't know what that means. For me personally, my vision and my definition of success is equally what I want my life to look like in 10 years, 20 years or more, as much as it is how I want to live my life between now and then. So my vision for my business ultimately is I do want to be able to impact other business owners, especially women business owners, because I feel like there's just not a lot of resources out there to help them. I want to help them become more financially literate. I want to help them become more wealthy and more powerful in their lives. That is one definition of success for me, but especially with women, I find we stop at this definition of like, I want to help other people and this is the impact I want to have. That's fine as a definition of success, but I also think that we are a lot of times wired to think about how what we do serves other people instead of stopping to think about, well, what do I get out of this, right? And I want to be clear, it's totally fine for you to get something out of your business while also helping other people. The two things are not mutually exclusive. So my vision is equally about the impact that I want to have on other people using my skill set and the things that I like to do and the things that I am good at, as much as it is about along the way, I want to be able to have more time to spend with my family, my husband, and I have an almost 2-year-old son. Something that I talk about as my ultimate definition of success would be I want to be completely financially independent by the time I am 45, which would be about 10 years from now. I think I can do it faster than that, but I'm just not going to put that pressure on myself. I'm fine if it happens when I'm 45. And that doesn't mean that I won't work. It just means that I'm able to, take time off, maybe outsource even more of my business and do, things that don't necessarily always correlate to making money in my business. But along the way, right, how do I do more of that and not just like wait until one day when I'm 45? And so along the way, what I want to be able to do is have a lake house that's close enough to where my family lives so that we can, at the drop of a hat, just drive and hang out. And it's not so much about having the money to buy and afford the upkeep on a second home and a boat. I also really want a boat. It's about the feeling and the ability to just drop a hat and go and hang out with my family whenever we want, right? It's that freedom, I think, that comes with it. This is my vision. And so I want you to step back and think about really, why are you here? And I want to know more than just how are you going to help other people? I want to know what's in it for you, right? How are you going to lead a rich life? And how are you going to enjoy the fruits of your labor? So that is step one to creating a profit strategy, is clarity around the end goal. The next thing I want you to do is probably the least sexy part of the whole system that I'm talking about today, and that is you need to know your numbers. By knowing your numbers, what I mean is, yes, you need to have your books up to date, meaning you have all of your transactions coded, you have your P&L, your profit and loss statement run. You know your numbers, meaning you know where your money comes from and where it goes. This is really like if we just talked about defining the end goal, knowing your numbers is the starting point. So if we're going to map things out, we've got to define the endpoint, but we also need to know where am I now so that we can take very clear intentional steps to get us to the end goal. So you need to know your numbers, whether you hire a bookkeeper or not. I want you to know and be able to answer questions about how your business has done historically and your position right now. Where does your money come from? Where does your money go? Knowing the answers to these questions and knowing like what do you spend money on and what your biggest expenses are and where are your sales coming from, things like this, you need to know to be able to figure out how to improve on those things. This is the part that holds a lot of people back because they think, oh, I'm so bad at doing my numbers. I'm so bored by this, and I totally understand it. I think that keeping your finances organized so that you can answer these questions and then evaluate and do the rest of the steps we're going to talk through is very foundational. And if you need to outsource to a bookkeeper, I think this is something that is important to do, as long as when you outsource your bookkeeping, you are continuing to take on the responsibility of knowing your numbers. Once you know your numbers, you have to evaluate what is holding you back from achieving your next goals and what do you need to implement to fix it. So the way that I like to do this with my clients is we run their financial statements. Their profit and loss is the primary financial statement that we use, but obviously the balance sheet is important too. But we're going to focus on the P&L for many, many business owners, because what we do from that is we generate some KPIs or key performance indicators that help them very quickly assess, am I on track or off track to reaching my goals? The goals that you have defined because you have gotten clear on your vision and you know what you need to implement to get there, right? So these are your goals, and you need to be tracking your numbers so that you can evaluate and assess what is working and what is not. Generally, after you evaluate your numbers, there are 4 sort of steps that I see business owners going through from 0 to 100, I'll say, right? From start to finish. I see business owners going through these steps of optimizing cash flow, creating stability in their business, growing their business, and then using the cash flow that they generate to build wealth. So let's dive in a little bit more into these 4 steps. First off, you have to optimize cash flow. In cash flow, what I mean by that is looking at the money you have coming in your business minus the money going out. I want this to be positive, meaning your business is generating positive cash flow. If you are not generating positive cash flow, do not do anything else, in my opinion, until you figure out how to generate positive cash flow. I'm probably going to say this 800 times. You have got to figure out how to make more money and keep more money in your pocket out of your business, because that is a successful business. I think what we see a lot of the times is these like companies, like big startups, right, in the news, who they spend and spend and spend so much money when they start up their business with the promise of one day making enough cash flow to be a profitable business that's worth a ton of money, right? I think having this idea that when you start your business, you're supposed to be negative is harmful to business owners, because what we're missing is that these startups, they have a lot of funding that comes into their businesses. And this is what, affords them to be able to generate negative cash flow and like keep their business going until they can get to a point of scale where they're generating positive cash flow. I do not believe that this business model works for 99% of business owners out there, because I find that business owners who get into these habits as they grow their business from 0 to 100,000 to 200,000 and more, if they're in these habits of spending more money than they take in, this is something that just carries through as their revenue increases, right? So they're spending more money than they're taking in. Their cash flow is negative. And then when they suddenly get up to the next level in their business, meaning I'm now generating multiple 6 figures or getting up to 7 figures, they're still not generating positive cash flow, because along the way, they've developed these habits of spending all their money. And I'll say this one too, 800 times, your business will not just magically generate positive profits when you get to the next level, unless you have a very clearly defined plan. So I firmly believe that you have got to optimize your cash flow. You've got to figure out how you are going to bring money in and keep as much as possible, and then do more and more and more of that. And I use the term optimize cash flow instead of increasing cash flow, because I believe that a lot of times we see out there increasing your revenue goals, increasing your cash flow, growing is always the answer. And I don't agree with that. I think that if you are clear on your vision and what you want out of your business, there is a place where your business is going to be optimally structured to balance you meeting your financial targets and also your overall time freedom and life goals. And the answer for everybody is not always to keep growing your business. I have seen business owners who do $6,000 to $7,000 a month in revenue keep their expenses, their overhead super low, so that they're paying themselves basically all of that revenue while maintaining a pretty good work schedule, right? I have seen these business owners be more content and happy in their businesses than ones who get up to $1 million, right? I have seen $1 million plus businesses make less money than businesses that are 10% of the size, as crazy as that sounds, right? So you've got to figure out what is the optimal cash flow and how do I get there and maximize from the money that you bring in. How do you keep as much of it as possible and do more of the things that are profitable? I will have many episodes on how to optimize cash flow, because I think it is so key to being a profitable business. But just high level, you'll hear me talk about levers. And I think thinking about cash flow is something that people really overcomplicate. And so I want you to just step back and think big picture. I can increase my cash flow by doing 2 things. 1, increase income, right? Increase the money coming into your business. And that doesn't always have to happen by selling more. There are ways to increase the money coming in without selling to a bigger number of customers. Or option 2 would be to cut back on my expenses. And you're probably going to have to do a combination of the two. Cut back on some expenses and increase your income. And this is where your optimal cash flow level is. Now, once your business is generating cash flow, the next thing I want you to make sure you do is stabilize your business. Create a solid foundation and stable processes so that when you grow your business later on, the wheels don't fall off. I like to ask people, what if next week you had 5 times the number of customers showing up at your door? What would you do? Would you be able to take them on and generate money from them? Or would your systems all fall apart? Would you lose money because you have to scramble and put things together? Would your customer experience falter, right? I think a lot of the times people tend to skip over this part and just go straight into trying to grow their business. But there's some things you can do up front to create more stability and a solid foundation that you can use and leverage to grow your business. So some things you can do to stabilize your business. Number 1, you have got to make sure that you are paying yourself a regular salary for the work that you do in your business. If your business cannot generate cash flow above and beyond the amount that it takes to pay you to do that work in your business, then you need to increase your cash flow. This is not going to be sustainable for you because your business has to pay for the work required to deliver your product or services, okay? So stability-wise, make sure you're paying yourself regularly. Some other things that can throw off your whole cash flow plan would be having huge tax bills come up at the end of the year. So I have seen this so many times, especially with new clients coming to me at the early part of the year. Like right now, right? It's January or February 2022. And I have had a handful of new clients come on this year already. And when I look at their 2021 financials for last year, they made profit in their business. And then I asked them, have you set any money aside for taxes? Have you made any estimated tax payments? And they're like, what? What tax payments? Y'all, what I don't want to have happen is for you to generate positive cash flow, which means you're generating taxable income and you're going to have taxes incurred, right? I don't want you to be hit with a huge tax bill. I have one this year who will have a $30,000 plus tax bill because they generated so much cash in their business in 2021 and they did not make any payments along the way because no one told them that they had to and they didn't learn about making tax payments. So I think a key piece of creating a stable business is planning ahead so that when you do have these tax bills come up, you're not going to be draining all the cash out of your bank account, okay? So create a tax system where you're setting money aside throughout the year so that you are never surprised by this huge tax bill. The other thing I'll say too about having huge bills pop up is I always tell my clients to create a cash cushion, to have a separate business savings account and then put money aside of at least 2 to 3 months of their business expenses so that they're confident knowing that if they have a tight cash flow month, they've got reserves sitting there that they can draw from and not have to take on debt, not have to drain their personal savings account, right? They've got the money sitting there. And this just goes a long way towards having peace of mind in your business. I think if we learned one thing from COVID in the last couple of years and seeing all of the businesses have to shut down because of, revenue dips, I think it's that we need to plan ahead for worst case scenarios, which means you need to have money set aside so that you can create time for yourself. If things go awry in your business, you need to have the runway to be able to pivot, as opposed to not having money in your bank account and something happens, right? Maybe somebody quits, maybe your revenue streams dry up, maybe something happens big picture in the economy and people aren't buying anymore, right? We can't really predict these things. And so if you have money sitting there, you have the time and space to pivot and bring more money in later. If you don't have any cash flow, you are going to be freaking out trying to figure out, well, how do I get money in this month? This is really what it means to be living paycheck to paycheck in your business. And to grow a successful business, we need to not be stressing out about these things. All right. The last piece of creating a stable business, I would say, is paying down your debt. So a lot of business owners, as they're growing, because their cash flow is low, a lot of times they do take on credit card debt, lines of credit, loans, right? Maybe you buy a car and you've got a car loan, right? All of these things really add up, and having to make debt payments drains the cash flow in your business. So especially if you have high interest debt, I would say high interest, meaning 7% interest or higher, you've got to pay that down so that when you grow your business and you generate more cash flow, you're not having to take that money and put it towards debt, because that really sucks, y'all. So focus on paying down debt. All right. So create a stable business by paying yourself regularly, setting aside money for taxes along the way, creating a cash cushion, and paying down debt. These are my tips I give to every business owner so that they can move on and grow their business. All right. I don't feel like I need to go super in detail about growing your business, but when you think about this financially, this is where I think it helps to have a plan and start to build out a spreadsheet of how do I plan for my revenue to increase? What are the things I need to have in place in my business to afford this revenue increase? Whether that is team members, whether that is improving processes in your business, whether that is coming up with new products or services or packages that you're offering, right? Planning out, like, what do all of these things cost to grow a business? I think that so many people out there, you see the success stories, but they don't talk about what it took to get there and how much money they put in to have a 6-figure launch or to get to $1 million year, right? And so I think we don't have realistic expectations about what it takes to grow a business. So I want you to step back and really truly think, based on my vision for how I want to live my life and what my financial and time freedom looks like and my optimal cash flow numbers, what pieces do I need to have in place in my business to grow sustainably and successfully and maintain my cash flow along the way? So I think it's just super important to lay out a plan and literally list out, right? I'll use myself as an example. If I want to double my business, I'm going to need to hire more team members. This might mean hiring a tax accountant, maybe 1 or 2 more staff accountants, maybe even at some point hiring another CFO. This is one of my 2022 goals, is having enough business to have another high-level person who is going to be highly compensated, right? So thinking through, what does all this cost realistically? And what's the timeline that I want this to happen? And then backing into, well, how much money do I need to have coming in to be able to afford all of the pieces and parts, right? You also want to make sure you're clear on, again, the processes. And some of this goes back to talking about creating a more stable foundation so that as you grow, again, the wheels don't fall off the bus. I think that having all these pieces in place will help you grow a business profitably. But let's not have the mindset that growing a business has to result in money flying out the door, right? Yes, you are going to have to make investments, right? Most likely to grow your business, maybe investments again in hiring people. Maybe that means you have to buy more equipment. Maybe that means you have to up-level yourself as the business owner, because I know for me, I personally believe that my business is only going to grow to the extent that I grow, right? If I can't hold the business back. And so I've got to up-level myself, my skills, my beliefs, my mindset. And sometimes that does take an investment. And so this is where we start to think about, what are the right investments that we need to make to grow our business? And don't make the mistake again of thinking like, I've just got to keep buying the things and like, this is what is going to grow my business. It's all about what is the roadblock that you currently have between you, where you are now. We've talked about the starting point and the end goal. What is the next thing? Because you're plotting out the steps and you're defining what's working and what's not working. What is the one thing you could fix right now that would free up your time or your money or create more space for you to get to that next level in business? This is where I think you need to make the next investment in your business. And so not necessarily thinking like, I've got to do all the things right now. It's about being smart about it, right? Like, we're going to clear up this roadblock and then we're going to increase our revenue, and our return on that one investment we made is going to be through the roof, right? And then we're going to keep assessing. We know our numbers. We're going to look at what's working and what's not. And we're going to say, okay, this is the next roadblock that I need to address, and I'm going to address that next. This is how you get positive ROI, return on investment, when you spend money in your business, okay? So growing your business profitably, and again, having that stable business that you've created will help you as you grow, because when you grow, yes, you have to make investments, and it is so helpful to have these underlying things figured out, like having a cash cushion, not having debt to be worrying about, and having optimized cash flow so that you can keep paying yourself as you grow, instead of throwing all your money out the door on all the things that everybody says you need, right, to grow your business. So as you grow your business, I want you to also think about the last piece of your profit strategy, which is how to build wealth. And again, wealth, I do mean in terms of money, but also in terms of your life goals, right? And so how do you get to that end goal, your vision, step by step along the way? So to build wealth, let's talk about the non-financial side first, right? You can lead a rich life by having the time freedom that everybody talks about when you run your own business, that so few of us actually find, at least not in the first few years. I have totally been there. How do you create more time for yourself so that you can take care of yourself as the CEO of your business? How do you spend more time with the people that you want to spend more time with, and maybe do things like go have fun, travel, right? All of these things are important to having a rich life, depending on what your own success goals are. What do you need to put in place in your business to have this happen? The other piece is going to be the money side, right? And so what do you need to be able to step back? What do you need to be able to feel comfortable in your life, right? Knowing what financial freedom actually looks like in your life. How much money do you need to not just get by and pay the bills, but also spend money on things that make you feel rich, and spend money on things that help you, celebrate like the fruits of all of the labor that you have put in to build your business to this point. I think that's what it's all about, right? And so to build wealth, I like to talk through, and again, this will have to be like many subsequent podcast episodes, but what does it look like to you? What assets do you need to have in the bank? How much money do you need to feel comfortable stepping back from your business? Thinking through, do I want to retire at some point? What is my exit strategy going to be in my business? How am I going to step back? Am I going to have somebody run it for me? Am I going to try to sell it? Do I just want to wind it down? These are all important things to think about, because if you don't think about them ahead of time, back to when we talked about your vision, right? You're not going to be able to put in the steps along the way to actually get you there, right? So to build wealth in your business, you need to make sure that you are actually saving and investing this cash flow that you're generating in your business. So with the cash flow you generate, right, you're paying your business expenses. Check. We've already got that covered. You're paying yourself a regular salary. Cool. We've got that covered. Then when you generate extra money above and beyond that, how do you allocate that to build wealth, right? Now, no, you don't have to put all of your money and like save and invest every penny. I think it's important to have fun along the way, but let's think about things that you could invest in to generate wealth. This might be as easy as retirement accounts. You can have traditional or a Roth IRA. This is a really easy beginner investment account for a lot of business owners. You could also, as a business owner, open up a self-employed retirement plan. This could be a SEP IRA, a solo 401k. There's many, many options. Again, this will be talked about in subsequent podcast episodes, but you can put some of this cash flow into a retirement plan, which you invest into stocks or index funds or whatever, and generate cash flow in your business. I personally, we do put money into retirement accounts, me and my husband, but it's not our primary goal because I do want to be able to retire or relax earlier in life if I choose to, earlier than 65. So we have a mix of retirement accounts that are available to us after we turn 65, but also things that we would use to generate cash flow along the way. So this could be investing in your business to generate more and more cash flow in your business. This could also be things like buying real estate, rental properties, Airbnbs. I have a ton of clients who, once they get their business stabilized, they set aside money and start buying real estate. I have seen business owners who sell their businesses and the real estate that they bought is worth almost as much as their business is when they sell it. So real estate, if you do it the right way, is absolutely a valid way to invest your money. You could have a traditional brokerage account. So this is like a non-retirement account. It doesn't have all the tax advantages of a retirement account, but we have one too. And so we'll put money into a brokerage account that we then turn around and invest primarily in index funds. I have seen a lot of clients who come in and they are trying to trade stocks and crypto and all these things through their accounts without having underlying investments in retirement accounts and index funds and things like that. And I could go off on a tangent about this. I won't, because my podcast producer would probably hate me if I did that. But putting all of your extra savings into things like brokerage accounts is probably not the most stable way to increase your net worth. Okay, so let's make sure that we balance investing in tax advantage things like retirement accounts and real estate. Real estate does have tax advantages and other things like that. While also, if you want to have fun and try to trade stocks and beat the market and do all this stuff, totally do that, but don't do it with all of your assets. Okay. Other things that you could do to build wealth could be buying another business, investing in other businesses, buying a franchise business, all of these things. So you've got to think through what feels comfortable to you. And this is an area where I would encourage you to think big and not be, afraid to say what if one day I own 10 rental properties? How does that make you feel? Think about what feels good to you in your life and what you want to be able to manage, and start setting aside money in your business to actually do the thing, right? Starting with easier investments if you want to, like a $6,000 contribution to an IRA account would be an amazing way to start. But I want you to use your business's cash flow to build wealth and ultimately help you reach those goals that you set when you got clear on your vision. Okay, y'all. So I feel like that was a lot. This honestly was an overview of my entire CFO framework that I work through with my clients, that I teach in my group program. And I have so much more to say about every one of these topics. And we are going to continue the conversation in all of the subsequent podcast episodes that we have. So let's just zoom out real quick. How do you create a profit strategy in your business? 1, get clear on your vision and your business goals. What does it mean to you to lead a rich life, both in terms of money and in terms of just how you want your life to be, to feel? Know your numbers and evaluate what's working and what's not. So don't just look at your P&L and put it in the trash folder in your email. Actually step back and assess, defining some key performance indicators if that is helpful to you, which it probably is helpful to you. Evaluate what's working and what's not. Optimize your cash flow. You've got to generate positive cash flow. And if you are not, you've got to take steps to generate positive cash flow. Create a solid foundation in your business financially so that as you grow, the wheels don't fall off. Then grow your business, putting all of the pieces in place to get to your end goal with your team, your processes, your products or services, and up-leveling yourself. And then when you're generating positive cash flow along the way, start setting money aside intentionally to invest in things that are going to generate income streams later on in your life. This is how we think like a CFO. What is your plan for each of these steps? And this is your personal profit strategy. So I want you to take some time and think about what you want to do for each of these pieces and what are the things you need to do in the next month or 2 months or the next quarter to make progress towards all of these steps. All right. So that is all I've got for now. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode, and I will talk to y'all later. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Now, I want you to go take some action. What's one thing you can do this week to create more profit in your business? Send me a DM on Instagram at YoungCoCFO and share your action item with me. If you have a question or topic you'd like me to dive into, or if you're feeling empowered about taking charge of your finances, let's continue the conversation. Go to profitandprosper.co to submit a question or topic for me to talk about on the show. And because we all profit and prosper better with friends, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe wherever you listen, and share the episode. Make sure you tag me at YoungCoCFO on Instagram so I can give you some love, and I'll see you in the next episode.